Thank you for inviting me to join you. This is one of the best experiences I've had at a conference, so thank you to the organizers. Thank you, Doru. Thank you so much. It's been lovely. Thank you for having me. So I'm going to talk about some things that I've been talking about for years. Employment branding. I got my start. Let me see, make sure I do this right. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, you better all be on LinkedIn. I am a marketing spaz. I would not call myself a guru or an expert. I don't think anybody who calls themselves an expert in marketing or social media is telling the truth, because it's constantly changing, as is communication, especially when we're talking about HR or recruiting. It has changed so much just since I've been involved with it in the last 15 years. I started my foray into recruitment as a single mom. I was working 2 jobs. I was taking 5 classes at a local college trying to make ends meet. 4 children. My youngest was 4 years old at the time. My oldest was 14. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how I was going to make ends meet. And so I was at a local university, and I answered an ad on a wall for somebody who basically could talk on the phone. And what that job ended up being was recruiting. You learn how to talk on the phone as a recruiter. These are the 4 most important people in my life, or they were at that time. This was 20 years ago. My 4 children. This was 8 years ago. As you know, things change over time. I no longer had a baby in a bucket, but I had 4 children who had... That's changing, and that's being flexible. Change. Thank you. Does that work? Hello, hello. There we go. Okay. Thank you. Learning how to be flexible and roll with the punches of motherhood braced me for rolling with the punches in my work life. Oh, it's a little dark. You can't see it, but this was just a few months ago. So my lot of 4 children has grown to 7. My youngest does not have a significant other, but my 3 daughters each have a significant other. And so my posse, if you will, has grown quite a bit. I don't have any grandchildren yet, but someday. I feel a lot like my job, like I do about my family, about my children. If you're like me, if you love your work, then you want your work to be good. You want the work that you produce to be good. You want the people that you work with to enjoy what they do. Life is good. Work can be good also. If you bring that same attitude that you have in life and how important life being good is, if you bring that to your workplace, your employees, the people that you work with, the people that you recruit, the people that you market to, who you talk to about your organization, about what you do, about what you produce, about what you distribute, all of that will be good as well. The speakers this morning have talked about what it is, what you do. I want to talk to you about the heart of it and what it means. So I'm a marketer. I started off as a recruiter, but I learned how to use social media 14 years ago to recruit. And so I dove headfirst into an area in business that had not even been looked at or thought about before. Networking was a breakfast at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, right? It wasn't a message online. It certainly wasn't email, though we tried. We tried to make email a thing that is good communication. But I don't know about you, I spend half my morning deleting emails because most of them are crap marketing emails that I didn't sign up for, that I didn't want. So the interesting thing about social media is that it is, if you know Seth Godin, he's a marketer. He talks about permission marketing. And the really great thing about social media is that it is permission. People have decided, have given you permission to watch what you do, to see who you are, to listen to what you have to say, to share in your life. So if somebody's following you on social, they've made that choice to follow you. You're not invading them by putting a commercial on TV or an ad in a newspaper or an email in their inbox that they didn't subscribe to or didn't want. So it's a really different and precise way to look at sharing and networking. Marketing shares what you do. Branding shares who you are. It's who you are and what you are when you're doing, making, distributing, whatever it is you do, make, or distribute. If we think about branding in the big sense, as in what marketers do with branding, there are all these questions we could answer. What is branding? Why does it matter? Why should it matter to you? Should you care? Does it even make a difference? Does it have an impact on employee engagement? Right? Branding is not just for external purposes, it's also internally, and it has an immediate impact on employee engagement. We spend so much time recruiting and looking for the right person, and then they get in our organization, and what do? We forget about them. We forget to keep recruiting them. Retention is all about a continual recruitment process, making sure that those employees that you've spent so much time and money recruiting still want to be part of your organization. So these are answers to this. Employer branding only makes sense if you change your company name, or what you do, or if you add a new product, and it only matters if you're a small organization, or if you have a consistent company culture. That's the only time you should brand your employment opportunities, right? Maybe all of your employers in one location. That's the only time you should have employment branding or employer branding. It only matters if the CEO approves of it. Or it only matters if you can control it. Guess what? You cannot control what every employee is saying about your organization. But you can control what you're saying, what you're sharing. And some people think that employer branding doesn't make sense at all. It's not important, it doesn't matter. This is an interview that I did with Monster.com a couple years ago, and I'm just going to play you a quick clip. The internet, which has been around for quite a while now, though, is becoming the hotspot for any type of recruiting activity, and that includes cloud-based data systems, as well as mobile technology and smartphones, and also social media, which we know has only gotten bigger because of mobile technology. And I think that recruiters and hiring managers and organizations that support new and innovative efforts to bring new people in, either through consultancies or for staffing or executive recruitment, are recognizing that these technologies can help them to do their job better and faster. When an organization shows what it is like to work for them, then you have a better opportunity to filter the recruitment process, engage with the right people, and allow people to see whether or not, truthfully, your organization would be a great place to work. And employment branding is that effort to make visible what it is like to work for an organization. And social media allows for that, the opportunity to text, SMS, quickly message folks that work for the organization. You can see what the response time is like and whether or not they're going to be willing to speak with you on a regular basis and help you in your job. A lot of times new hires come in and the onboarding process is day 1 where they fill out their paperwork, day 90 when they get their insurance benefits, and then they're never talked to again by HR unless there's a complaint. That is the ultimate definition of employment branding. What is it like to work there? So it's pretty simple. Employment branding, employer branding, is sharing the truth about what it's like to work for your organization. A lot of marketing is not truth, right? A lot of it is fluff. A lot of it is, look what we can do for you. Look what we have for you. It's great. It's wonderful. But the problem with lying on employer branding and making up a bullshit story about what it's like to work for an organization is that what happens when that person's been there on week 1, week 2, week 4? Do you think they've noticed that the job wasn't what you said it was going to be like? Do you think they haven't started looking for a job already? Right? So it's really important that we understand the difference between right and quick. I know I was a recruiter for 5-6 years for healthcare, and also worked in technology, recruiting for technology, and I know the pressure that there is when it comes to having to get a butt in an empty seat. I know the pressure that there is when you understand the money that is lost because that seat is empty, right? But think of the money that you lose if you bring the wrong person to the organization, if the wrong person sits in that seat, if the wrong person talks to other people about what it's like to work for your company, right? The truth is very important when it comes to employer branding. You want to attract the right talent. You want that talent to stay. And you want that talent to be part of your employment branding effort, which is saying great things, having employee engagement, having great camaraderie, improving the culture that Ron talked about at your organization. Think about it, right versus quick, right? We want to do our job quickly. We want to get on to the next project. But at the same time, do you want to have to redo that project? Slow it down, make the right decisions, say the truthful things about what it's like to work at your organization. And if it's not good, then you got to go back and fix it, right? If you have a problem with retaining employees, you better figure out what it is, what's happening. You won't retain them if you lie about what it's like. You won't retain them at all. If you have to lie, your problem is back here. So when we talk about employee engagement, what are some of the things that you're doing to make sure that your employees are engaged? Do they have an opportunity to talk to leadership? Do they have an opportunity to share their ideas, share their issues without any kind of repercussion or worry that their job is at stake? Are they able to give ideas about how to improve the workplace? This goes back to what's happening before you're telling the truth about employer branding. Are employee needs being met? Right? Do they have the equipment they need? Are they warm enough in the wintertime? I worked for a company that we had to have space heaters. So the leadership didn't want to turn the heat above a certain level for money reasons, but everybody was bringing in space heaters and hiding them under their desk and plugging them in. It was using power. So are the basic needs of your employees being met? If you have virtual employees, are they feeling like they're engaged? If you have employees that aren't on site with your organization, do they feel like a part of your company? Are they part of that culture? Is there opportunity for growth? Are you making sure that these new employees that come into your organization understand that there's a reason for them to stay? They will have opportunities for change, for learning, for growth, for development, for progress in their careers. Job satisfaction. Do your employees go home at night feeling like, yes, I did a great job. I can't wait to go back to work tomorrow. Are they saying that? Do they have job happiness? How is job happiness different than job satisfaction? Their needs as a working professional might be met, but do they ultimately have job happiness? Do they go home at night and say, I've chosen the right career, not just I've chosen the right company, right? So are you addressing those things? Have your employees understood that they can come to you, they can come to HR, they can come to leadership, they can come to their managers or supervisors and say, hey, I want to do more, or hey, I need to do less. I need help. Do they feel comfortable doing that? If you don't have this kind of communication with your employees, none of that stuff in the beginning matters, right? You can lie all you want about what it's like to work there, and as soon as they get there, none of that's available to them. They're going to find a different job, or worse, they're going to stay and do a really crappy job for you, right? They're not going to contribute to the organization like you want them to. A lot of what we bring to our employees is very important to them is a paycheck, right? It's basic reason why people work. They need to be compensated. They need to feel like those basic needs are met so that they can look beyond the everyday, beyond the paying of bills, that stress is removed. That's why most people work. But why do they stay? What is there that you are offering your employees that is beyond compensation? There are a lot of studies that say that people leave a job because of their boss. They leave a job because a greater opportunity came along, right? So let's think about the truth of all of that and how it can make a difference to your organization. Is there opportunity for growth? Think about it in your head right now. Do you offer opportunities for change, growth, development for your employees? Is there opportunity for them to ask for that? Do they have any input at all on their personal development? Or are they at the mercy of a manager or a supervisor that does a performance review only when the head of human resources has cracked them with a whip? Are you having daily conversations with employees? Ron talked about the engagement that a CEO needs to have with his organization. Face-to-face, eye-to-eye contact. Maybe Skype to Skype if you have virtual employees, right? I'm a virtual employee. I live in California. My boss lives in Arizona. Our company is based in Texas. And here I am in Romania. So I've worked for companies that are based in London. I've worked for companies based in Montreal. There is a way to have a great company culture simply by making sure that you are engaged, that you provide opportunities for change and growth and development. Let's talk about what it would mean to your organization if you never had a great employee leave. How many of you have had somebody come to you and say, I've got a better job and I'm leaving, and everything inside of you melted into the floor because you knew how hard it was going to be to replace this person, or knew it was going to take 2 or 3 people to replace that person? Are you taking care of the quality employees that you spend so much time hiring? Time and money. Sometimes you got to invest time and money to celebrate $50,000, was it, Ron? $50,000 for a party, or just that constant engagement with employees? Again, I'm going to go back to what's the cost of the empty seat. In recruitment, we are pushed so often to talk about cost of hire. What does it cost to bring an employee in? How long did that job posting run? How many recruiters had to work on it? Was there a bonus that had to be offered? Was there relocation? The cost of hire is all we talk about. What's the cost of not hiring? What's the cost of not filling that position? How long can you go with having that seat empty or having it filled by somebody who can't do the job, doesn't want to do the job, doesn't care about doing the job? Think about the reasons that your company would find success. What does a successful organization look like? So I'm saying organization because that's different than company. If we say, what does company success look like? Does that mean, that means awards? We won awards for the product and service that we have or produce. We're in the black. We make a lot of money. We provide a great service for other people. When you think about organization, that's all of us. That's each of us contributing to that part of the company, the individuals that contribute. So what does organizational success look like to you, to your company? This is my friend Phil Nolting. He is the CEO and founder of a company called Qualify, based in Toronto. And Phil, I had the opportunity to interview him on the floor at HR Tech when I was doing a live stream podcast. And he said these words to me. I don't think he's the originator of these words, but he said them to me, and they had a great impact on me. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So if you haven't developed the company culture to have a great employer brand, that doesn't mean you can't. It doesn't mean that it's impossible. It means that you can start now and start making a difference to the recruitment process at your organization, start making a difference to the engagement with each of your employees, and then hang on to them, retain those employees, right? Think about this. I want you to think about this for yourself. Why have you stayed at a job? Think about your favorite job that you ever had in your life. It might not be the one that you have now. Don't raise your hand. It might not be the job that you have now, but think about the best job you had and why you stayed at that job. Was it because you had a great boss? Was it because the pay was phenomenal? Was it because you had great benefits outside of health insurance or vacation pay? Were there other benefits offered? Is it because you were offered opportunities for growth and change development, personal growth and change and development? It might be because you could offer those things to your employees. Right? What else? Think about those other things. What else? All of those things that are up there that you've answered in your head, are those offered at your company now? As a marketer, I send a lot of emails, and I hate emails. I hate them. I hate them. They're horrible. I hate having to open a marketing email from somebody that I didn't ask for them to send me anything. So I think about, when I send an email, I think about who's receiving this and what benefit would they get from it, right? So as somebody in your position, an HR recruiting professional, are you thinking about the other side of this? Are you only thinking about the empty seat, or are you thinking about the seats that are filled? How are you hanging on to those employees? What matters to them? Has your company been built on a foundation of truth, a great product, a great service? Perhaps you're a distributor of something. Think about what the foundation, what the story is of your organization. And if you don't have a story, start writing one. You can plant the tree now. It didn't have to be planted 20 years ago. If it wasn't, there's nothing you can do about it now, but you can start writing that new story now to attract, engage, and retain the talent you need. This is my friend, Carrie Corbin. She is the head of employer branding at American Airlines. And she asks this question all the time. As an employer, should I not spend the time to survey my employees, to train my managers, to pay attention and help create awareness if something is not working within a business unit so that we can then take the opportunity to address and fix it? Are you asking those questions? Are you listening to the answers? Right? It's one thing to just throw information out there. Are you watching for the answers to come in, and then are you listening to the answers? Are you really hearing them? It's not an easy thing to do, right? we have all of these charts and bell graphs and numbers and scientific formulas. I mean, I almost passed out when Joseph threw that formula up on the screen. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. But you won't ever do it if you don't start. Right? So think about an area that you can start and then build from there. When I first started recruiting, there was a network, I'll call it a network. It's kind of a precursor to LinkedIn, if you will. It was called The Ladders. Does anybody remember theladders.com? It was, I think it's still around even, but it's a kind of a dating service for executives that are looking for a job. Not a dating service, but it had the same kind of premise. Like Tinder, you have an opportunity to look and swipe, look and swipe, look and swipe. Oh, maybe I like that person. I don't like this person. I don't like them. I want to talk to this person. I don't like that person. I don't like that. I'm a single woman. Sorry, it's horrible. The Ladders offered an opportunity for recruiters to do the same thing. Look and swipe, look and swipe, look and swipe. But there was an interesting addition to this that other job boards weren't offering. It was engaging. You could actually message a job seeker, and then they could message you back. So for me, I think I was 2 years recruiting at that point, it was a great opportunity for me to have impact on that job seeker of what it was like to work for the organization that I was recruiting for. And that engagement changed how I viewed recruiting, changed how I viewed what it was like to be an HR professional. My next step was into Myspace. How many of you remember Myspace? Was Myspace over here? Right? I was using Myspace to review backgrounds of employees. And while today it might be considered discrimination, if I saw a manager of organic chemistry at a party double fisting beers, he probably wasn't the right person for my organization. So I was using social media as another way to look at job seekers that were coming to my organization and deciding whether or not are they a good fit. How often do we ask that? Their qualifications are there. They would fit perfectly in that seat. They would fill that empty seat. But how do they fit at the coffee stand? How do they fit within the department? What do they contribute? How will they contribute? Will they be engaging as well? Right? So when I started using Myspace, I realized there was another way to attract, talk to, engage with job seekers. And from there, I just started using social media everywhere. And a side thing I was doing was selling ad space on recruitingblogs.com. And there was a CEO that had just moved to my neck of the woods from the UK, and I called him up and asked him to have lunch, thinking I was going to sell him some ad space, not realizing that he had done what I always do, which is a lot of research on whoever I'm sitting down with. There should be no such thing as a cold call anymore. You should be able to find out the information that you need about the people that you speak with. So the CEO that I sat down to lunch with had done that to me. And halfway through lunch, I was trying to sell him some ad space. You're new to the area. You have a recruiting technology that a lot of people will love. Why don't you spend a couple $1,000s on some ad space? And he said, why don't you quit your job and come work for me? And I sat back and I was dumbfounded that he was offering me a job without even ever having interviewed me or having spoken to me. What I didn't realize is that he'd already done that. On our multiple phone calls, on our lunch, he wanted me to come be his director of marketing. I'd never done marketing before other than employer branding. And I took the risk. He took the risk, and now I manage marketing for several, or I have for several HR technology companies and for recruiting technology companies. But I also go back to the basics and do what I love, which is employer branding. The consumer brand of your organization is not the same as the employer brand. I mean, think about major companies that have a great consumer brand. Apple. They have an amazing consumer brand. They have a great product. Not very many people would say they have a great employee brand or employer brand, right? They're not a great place to work. Amazon, great service. Great service. Everybody loves what they do. A couple years ago, they were in the limelight for not having a great employer brand or lying about their employer brand. And then most recently, Uber. Great product, great technology. But their employer brand, especially if you're a woman, isn't so great right now. Right? So have you taken control of what is being said about your organization? And once people get into your organization, are you managing what's being said within the organization? What can you do differently? The most important thing that I wanted to share with you today is for you to start thinking about what you can do differently. And if you haven't done anything, right? Start. Hit the go button, whatever it is. Maybe you don't have an employee Facebook page or an employee LinkedIn group where you can invite all your employees in and have open conversations. That's an easy way to start, right? Have you asked questions? Have you interviewed employees? Do you bring them in and say, hey, do you like working here? What can we do better? Are you asking people that leave? Are you waiting till they leave to ask them? We have exit interviews, all kinds of software out there that is available for you to understand why an employee is leaving. How about if you ask them before they leave, before they think about leaving? Why would you stay here? What else can we do that's better, different, that would help you, make you be happy in your job and satisfied in your career? I'm the biggest procrastinator of all. Truly, I am. My kids will tell you. My boss will tell you. But when you start, all of a sudden this pathway opens up for you. It can be overwhelming to say, I'm not doing this, I haven't done this, my company won't do it, my boss won't support it, my CEO will never get behind this, my marketing team won't help me, my marketing team won't even give me a logo. I've been there. Ask for help. Tell your marketing team, I need your help. Help me do this. You're a marketing expert, I need to market open positions. Find out who your advocates are. See if you can have a manager that's has nothing to do with HR that might want to be one of the admins on your Facebook page. There are little things that you can do that will help you start. That's the most important thing of all, starting. Thank you.